Hello, welcome and welcome back. This is Jacob and today we will be continuing and also ending the narrations for the different endings in IS3, aka Mizuki and CAERULA armor. So this video, the playlist is now fully complete for the different endings, so for those of you who have not seen the previous ones yet, it is linked down below in the description of the video, together also with the playlist for the different memory mappings. So for those of you who haven't seen yet or want a quick refresher, the ending playlist is complete, like I said. The memory mapping one is missing one single memory mapping to be added, which will come up on the channel in a day or two after this video goes live. And before we head in, this ending is quite on a different scale compared to the previous endings. As a quick reminder, ending 1, once again, was the canonical journey and ending for this game mode. The other endings are all, including this one today, are all taking place in different timelines of events. So do keep that in mind going forward. However, lore and stuff told in them is still, you know, relevant to the world at large. And yeah, this one is quite on a different scale, as you will see once we start going into it. One final thing I want to say here, and I usually don't say it at the beginning of these videos before we start, at least not for these different endings, is this one was very difficult to record. For specific reasons that you will see once we start going through this, but there is a lot of RNG to get certain elements done, so this one took long to record, especially every single piece that I needed. So what I'm trying to say here is, please consider leaving a like on the video, it will help out a lot, so thank you very much. And with that said, let us proceed into our first stop and our first event in this quest chain. And here we are at the beginning for ending number 4. And you might think to yourself, déjà vu? And you are correct, this is the exact same start as for ending number 3. But this time around we will have one extra option to choose from. However, let's do all things in order. Here in the picture menu it is called "The Storm Has Come", and it says, "The conspiracy has been cast, and those who've been lost cannot be brought back. But even in this apocalyptic backdrop of thunder and lightning, there are still things you can do. Your choice will determine Terra's fate." As for the event itself, it now looks like this, with our new option being there in the middle. But first, let's read the text, titled "The Beginning." The world is undergoing drastic changes. The news terminals will not stop beeping, and bad news continues to spill forth. The sea terrors are marching towards land, the penal battalion's fleet has been destroyed, and the Church of the Deep cultists have advanced on the Bastion de Canticos. However, what worries you most is news of the hunters who entered the Stultifera Navis. Mizuki found documents detailing plans to lure the Abyssal Hunters back into the ocean to resurrect him. And another document titled "CAERULA" records a bishop's lifelong research on the Seaborn, as well as a certain location. As before, our top and bottom option are the same as last time, which means if you select the top option, decide to dive into the abyss, and you gain the bishop's research, you will be set on the course for ending number 3. If you select the bottom option, a nightmare, you gain hope and you go on your merry way. However, our new option here is the aforementioned CAERULA, which gives us an item by the name of CAERULA Memory. Gameplay wise, as you can see, this item will set us back by 100 light, which means it immediately sets us to 0, and it also immediately afflicts a random operator with a rejection. But we do get text, obviously, from when we choose this option. It says, "The name CAERULA seems strangely familiar. When you find the landmark on the map, you take Mizuki deep into the facility, not even stopping when he finds he, and motions to you that he can assimilate its core organs. You continue to go down deep into the core of the CAERULA Arbor experiment beneath Terra's magma. This is the place that gave birth to them, and where the Seaborn can become part of them. As for the item, CAERULA Memory. As said, the item will set you back 100 light, and it will immediately afflict a random operator with a rejection. It also says in the flavor text, even vague memories of the lab's research are enough to induce fear. Perhaps you and people like you have all done something unforgivable for the sake of survival. So this already implies certain things, but we shall now continue on to our second event in this chain. And here we are at our second event in the chain. Now before I start reading this, I just want to say that this second event does not need to appear for you to progress towards ending number 4. Gameplay wise, this is sort of a bonus that will help you gain light essentially. Why is gathering light important? We will cover that once we get to the third step. But this second step is sort of optional. But regardless, it does carry lore. So, let's continue. Titled CAERULA Ritual. It says, you witness Mizuki go into the transportation pod at the bottom of the experimental hub. You go to the control station to investigate the experiment that Mizuki is about to face. It is a long, fully automated modification process that will take centuries, perhaps millennia, but the control station does not display any concrete numbers. Even more concerning is his assimilation of the experiment hub. You can see the branch-like tentacles reach out and retract, absorbing energy from the magma, and it has fully assimilated part of the experimental hub. Now you can choose to turn off part of the experiment process to ensure Mizuki's safety, or let him achieve a further understanding of he through the assimilated structure. So then, as stated, we are given two options. We can shut down the dangerous process, the top option, which gains us just a immediate gain of 30 light, or we select make no changes, which gives us the item CAERULA Arbor. But first, let's take a look what happens when we select shut down. We get greeted with this text. Mizuki will be rebuilt according to the modified defaults, then lead the Seaborn as per the promise between you. If you select the second option to gain the item, you gain this text. The entire experimental process will become open to Mizuki, and even the parts he has assimilated will guide Mizuki to become one of them. You will watch over him at the experimental hub until the end of life. The item that you get for the second choice is called CAERULA Arbor. The item will give the enemies, all your enemies, in all the future battles, an attack speed buff of plus 15, and at the end of an operation, if you do not lose a single life point, you will gain 15 light. So essentially the event is a choice between either gain 30 light immediately, or you gain an item that, yes, buffs the enemy slightly, but every time you win a battle and don't lose life points, you will gain 15 light. Which is probably the better option here, at least gameplay wise, if you ask me at least, but you will have options at least. Flavor text wise, we gain through his body, Mizuki becomes one of them. His consciousness is long gone, but his cells live on. The magma is his food, and the great tree grows towards the core of the planet. If left unchecked, he will become reborn in the planet's core and invite Terra into we many. As for the picture here in the menu, it is called the Creeping Branch, and it says, devour the magma, feed we many, bury the roots into the core of Terra. Instinct continues to drive it to complete the task its mother assigned it, even if its thoughts have long perished. So, up until now we knew especially through IS3, that there is a giant dead firstborn on the sea floor, and that it might be dead, like brain dead. It's not moving, essentially. It's still also biologically alive, still acquiring energy from somewhere and growing and replenishing its nutrients. But how was the question? And here we see what is actually going on. The thing essentially let down its appendages into the experimental hub, where the magma of the planet is just coursing through, and it's feeding on it. It is essentially feeding on the planet itself, and it's replenishing itself with nutrients that way, and that way is also giving its body as nutrients to the rest of the Seaborn. A pretty much never-ending cycle where the Seaborn will pretty much forever have food available to them. But this is about to change. So let's head over to our final event before the battle. Event number 3. Sublimation. The collective seeks survival, and survival is suffering. Therefore, we continue to evolve, overcoming flaws, facing nature, fighting external foes. Extinction is cunning and hungry, and it will tear us apart at the slightest sign of weakness. Therefore, we have adapted and addressed our shortcomings. From emerging out of the seas, from contacting Originium, we have expanded our territory and come into contact with deadly threats, until we fully understand, until they become food. Now the land and sea are our paradise, but we continue to grow. Life remains suffering. We need a bigger home. Before we welcome the evolutionary singularity, he who leads our future must give himself an answer. Who am I? And this is the event, like I said, where the light mechanic comes into action. Depending on how much life you have when you get to this, you will have one of 3 choices. Or all 3, depending. If you have from 0 to 49 light, you will only see the very bottom option. If you have 50 to 89, you will have the middle and bottom option. And obviously, if you have anything above that, so maximum light, of course, you will have all 3 available. But we shall go from the worst option and the worst answer essentially to the best option and best answer in here and see what they bring us. So once again, who am I? The answer being, we many is not me, I am we many. We get, why am I not we many? What else affects me? The item that we get out of it is called Hesitation. All operators gain block -1, but will not go below 1. And like all the other items that you'll see, it says leads the exploration towards a different conclusion. Flavor text-wise, this one says, the manifestation of Mizuki's self-doubt. As his sea-born instincts overcome his humanity, it will continue to have a negative impact, as long as his self-identity remains unclear. So then, going back to the choice, or rather the question of who am I, the middle choice says, let time answer. And we get the text, there is no problem that cannot be solved by a new generation, no barrier that cannot be overcome by evolution. The answer will reveal itself when the answer comes. The item that we get with this one is called Vigil. All operators gain block +1, and it leads the exploration towards a different conclusion. Flavor text-wise, Mizuki does not particularly identify with either humans or seaborn. he only does what he thinks is right. Once again, going back to our question of who am I, the best item and the best answer given is I am Mizuki. I will fulfill the doctor's request. And the text that we get, I am not complete, as he is not. Our encounter was by chance, but there comes a time to part. It has come. The item that we get out of this is called Determination. All operators will gain block +2, defense and HP increased by 120%, and resistance by +20. And of course it leads the exploration towards a different conclusion. Flavor text-wise, Mizuki's humanity has not faded. He has accepted the Seaborn as a human, and he can transform back from a Seaborn to a human. As for the menu in here with the pictures, it is called Bloodline. The Firstborn is just the starting point of evolution. The thousands of bloodlines that emerge from it will become great trees. As a little bonus to showcase here, once you are on that path towards descending and this event closes down, you get greeted with a message on screen, signifying that you are on course, and it simply says, "The age of man is over. The age of the Seaborn begins." And with that, we are on course to ending number 4. And here we are at our final stage, our final boss battle for ending number 4. Our stage is titled Glory of Humanity, and it says, "The moment Izumik recalls his offspring and performs the genetic modification of the swarm's astralization, Mizuki will demonstrate the potential and spirituality of humanity for himself and the entire Seaborn swarm." As indicated by the text, our main boss for this stage will be called Izumik, Source of Ecology, a perfect organism approaching an evolutionary singularity, the pioneer and guide of we many, the last firstborn, Seaborn. And if you're thinking to yourself, isn't that just Mizuki spelled differently? Yes, it is, because this is Mizuki after his eons of evolution, and he, together with the rest of the Seaborn swarm, are now on a precipice to the next stage of their own evolution. He, however, will not be alone obviously on the stage, and will be accompanied by these little things, called Izumik's offspring. One of Izumik's evolutionary branches, bringing genetic data collected across Terra back to the mother. Now, technically speaking, these two are our only enemies for this stage, essentially. However, they do change into regular enemies. Once they become blocked, they pop into one of these random enemies, in that case. But in general, as long as Izumik, is gonna be on the stage, we are gonna be only fighting him and these little guys. Now, for those of you interested, here's a quick overview of the items that I've collected for this run. If you want to pause at any given point, just do so and see what the items are. I will say and point out, however, that this specific run is based on the choice of hesitation, which means that all my operators will have -1 block. Sadly, I didn't have the second event in the chain pop up, so I didn't have a good resource of getting light back. And the two other items that will make this very interesting are the Viviparous Lily, which, for those of you who haven't seen this item, it reduces the cost of all operators by 3. However, it also scrambles all of their DP cost, so you can have something ridiculous as a 30 DP unit cost 6 or 7. So that's gonna be fun to see at the beginning who gets what value. And the other item is the Survivor Contract, which is a very helpful item for this specific battle. One of our operators is gonna get a ridiculously high attack value, so we'll see who gets it. In other matters, I acquired this sadly rejection. It isn't too bothersome because this one will continuously drain the HP of the affected individuals if their HP is not full. Otherwise, it does nothing. And as for the units that are gonna go with us into this battle, this is the selection. Well, I had a free Heligar, so we'll see how he performs in this fight. And I also had a tulip pop up along the way, so let's see how this goes. As always, I will mute myself during the boss battle, so you get to enjoy the music and the stage itself. And I will see you guys again for the cutscene that plays after. So let's begin.
私がお守りし助力正義の声を聞け。
ああ、今であの嘆きが聞こえてくる。
私がお守りし私の出番？
敵を殺してしまうのを下策と心得る。
これで静かになってくれ。この戦い、障害を全てなぎ払うのが嵐の務め。怪我はさせません。助力正義の声を聞け。
戦闘は私のかつての生と死は紙一重だ。刀を無知となし、肉体を打ち据える。
怪我はさせません。私に本当に敵がそうです。助力敵とすらいないのに死なる訪れない。これで静かになってくれる。この力さっさと片付ければ楽に終わる。ああ、危ない。面倒正義の声。
なりっきりその主の犠牲を無駄にはせん。
遺言の伝達断る。ちょっとからかってあげようっと。どうすればいい？誰かに気づく前にあなたの死体を影に沈めてあげる。これで静かになってくれ。今こそ皆さんをお助けする時です。
ああ、目にまぶしくは映るまい。
絶望の匂いも。
刀を無知となし、肉体を打ち据える。
私に早く離れてください。お願いします。バラージ了解。この力どうか受け止めてください。私を超えてみなさい。ここで何が起きた？向こうの連中にはがっかりしてもらうことになるでしょう。どうすればそう隠せない。ここでは何が起きたいか敵ですらいないのに死なる訪れない。ああ、危ない。面倒発目し
準備は今であの嘆きが聞こえてくる。
ここでは何が起きたいかどうすればいいかくらい分かる。スタンバイ。さっさと片付ければ楽に終わる。
この地から真の意味で離れることはできん。私も分かっている。
生きてすらいないのに死なる訪れない。あまり待たせ絶望の匂いも感じられできない。怪我はさせません。指定の位置に向かう。頑張ります。ドキドキ。
生として槍を刀となし、甲冑
私に出会ったのが運の尽きだ。
contemplation finally comes to an end. To express the emotions, desires, and thoughts of the human ego to the inhuman ego, he accepts. He floats on the water's surface, gently sculpting Mizuki's new body. The many heed his suggestion, rejuvenating strength, falling silent. And shortly after that, he is born. A carbon-based body housing a human soul, a gift from him, is gently placed on a reef off the coast. He soon awakens, once again interacting with the world with human senses. He revels in the damp air, the warmth of the sun, and the caress of the breeze. But it is then that a friendly tentacle touches the top of his head. It reminds him that there is one last thing he must do before returning to this world. Mizuki must part way with Mizuki. There never was a dull moment with you around. Thank you. Then, this is goodbye. One says his farewells in a human tongue, while the other reciprocates in seaborn fashion. After that, the universe rumbles. Countless hollows appear across the land, and the ocean itself is swept up in a maelstrom. From every corner of Terra, the Seaborn arise and head towards the sky. Fledglings dwell on the backs of their kin. Offspring swim along with their parents. The mountain-like bodies of the firstborn slowly but resolutely migrate to the other end of the sky. After a while, their titanic forms disappear into the furthest reaches of the sky, but there still remains countless Seaborn on land, ready to join its mighty ranks, ready to thread the path of the firstborns. The entire swarm weaves itself into a chain, slowly extending upwards into the sky. When they complete their voyage, the Sea of Stars will usher its new pioneers, and Terra will become a paradise. Oh Mother, we have found our answer. We many are of the sea, and to the sea we shall return. To the bright, boundless galaxy. To the new place we call home. Alright, now before we head into our 3 text endings, a look at 2 quick things. One of them being the very selection screen here that we're looking at right now, titled of course the same as the ending, STELLA CAERULA, which by the way, translated from Latin to English means blue star. And it says here as well, in small print, the descendants of evolution rise from Terra's tides, break through the skies, and fly towards the endless sea of stars. The other thing we're gonna take a quick look at is the final picture that we have unlocked in the cutscene just now, titled From Sea Blue to Deep Blue. After countless trials and tribulations, he and his kin will be born again. So then, let us now begin with our 3 text endings. Of course, beginning with part number 1, titled Terra Reborn. Following the scattered fragments of his memories, Mizuki searches for mankind's last haven. In these memories, humans have not gone extinct, and one last city remains standing on land. For a human, going to the human city is a foregone conclusion, hardly worth mentioning. With such thoughts in mind, he walks onto the land alone. The Seaborn have completely transformed the entire continent. There is no more Originium, no more Barrens. As far as the eye can see, the entire land has become a verdant expanse, all manner of plants teeming with life. Animals prance across the wilds and soar through the skies in packs, partaking freely of the land's inexhaustible bounty. After crossing a stream and climbing a hill, Mizuki feels a tinge of weariness and hunger, so he plucks a few fruits from the plants and pops them straight into his mouth. The Seaborn have no need to taste their food, but these fruits have clearly retained their original taste. The only difference is they are even more delicious and more filling. Previously, having enough to eat and drink was one of the few pursuits life afforded him, but now such an ideal can easily be fulfilled simply by extending one's hand. Suddenly, he hears a loud rumble in the distance. A mountain range rises from the ground and begins to wander across the land. The Seaborn's departure was like a beacon, rousing these ancient progenitors from their slumber. The land to them is both familiar and foreign. They explore the flowers, plants, and trees before them with a mix of suspicion and curiosity. When the Farenmut vanishes, Mizuki once again sets off on his journey to find the city. He recalls the way humans identify one another, that they have various convenient and conspicuous ways of drawing borders and forming cohorts, but even after walking for a long time, Mizuki does not even happen across a single road. Did I remember wrong? He cannot help but to doubt himself, then scratches his head, trying his best to recall his impression of humans over the millennia. However, apart from the human who brought him into the laboratory and the human he trusted the most, his memory contains only a hazy impression of that city's towering walls. Finally, he comes up with a brute force method. If I can find them, and I will have them come to me. He builds and lights fires in several prominent places, carves messages of kindness in every human script he can remember, and then climbs a tall mountain where he can see all the fires to await someone to answer his call. Finally, the moment Mizuki was waiting for has come. Aliberi finds a way to the mountain under the cover of darkness and holds a knife to his neck, asking him questions in a Victorian tongue laced with the flavor of many nations. Most importantly, her ensemble sports a tower-shaped epaulette with a small line of characters engraved on its lowest part. A name that lingered on the tip of his tongue thousands of times suddenly wells up in Mizuki's heart. Rhode Island. Part number 2. Rhode Island. Following the map given to him by the Rhode Island operator, Mizuki arrives at the last city. Once during the war against the Seaborn, humanity was utterly routed, its sole survivors building high walls in the mountains, clinging to technology left over from the past in order to survive. In the process, the barriers between country, class, and race all melted away. In the last city, there were no kings or presidents, only people, and the loose alliances they formed remained. Survival was the end-all be-all, and all other affairs seemed trivial in comparison. However, now that the Seaborn have left Terra, all kinds of organizations have planted their roots across the city. Most of them have but a singular purpose: to leave the walls of this last city and forge outward. But Rhode Island is somewhat different. As a relatively influential entity within the city, it is chiefly responsible for maintaining the logistical and medical needs of the other organizations. In the beginning, the founders of Rhode Island built the high walls, but now these bricks that have protected mankind for thousands of years will become the cornerstones of humanity's new home. Mizuki looks at the sights surrounding him with curiosity. He is now on his way to the Rhode Island headquarters, hoping to find some ancient artifacts there. He asks the people wearing Rhode Island epaulets one after another to confirm its location, going back and forth through the strange city. Eventually, he finds a structure that looks like the ruins of a nomadic plate. He is a bit apprehensive to step inside. Even if he enters this Rhode Island, what is there for him to do? War and the passing of time have eroded away everything he once knew. Nothing stirs anything inside him except a sign, and a somewhat familiar nomadic plate. Nobody recognizes him, nor does he recognize anyone. Mizuki stands in front of the gate and vacillates for a long time, finally making up his mind to take a look inside this Rhode Island. He still wants to be part of this organization, if at all possible. This is all he can think of, all that he can do. Mizuki walks into the lobby and sees a familiar front desk. Just as he is about to ask something, a familiar voice rings out in his ear. "You're back." Part 3. Continuation of Fate. Kaltsit brings Mizuki into a meeting room and offers him a seat. Other than a change of clothes, she seems completely unaffected by the passing years. "Your return is indeed unexpected." Kaltsit holds a glass of water, her 10 fingers tapping rhythmically across its exterior. "When you completed your series of metamorphoses and, as a firstborn, sent the doctor back to land, I thought you would climb up to the stars. But instead, you're sitting in front of me, playing with your food just as before." Then, can I dig in?" Several pieces of fruit have already disappeared down Mizuki's gullet as he asks the question. "This is a reception room. Everyone may freely enjoy the food that has been placed here. Moreover, this food was a change that you brought about. The desert has disappeared, the temperature has stabilized, and disaster has subsided. Terra has become a garden, and you had no small part to play in that. But I'm also the villain who left humanity with nothing else. When the doctor explained the plan to me, I did not worry about its feasibility, sacrificing the vast majority in exchange for the human race's survival. It was insane, but ultimately also the most rational and correct choice. Nobody wants to be sacrificed, nobody wants to be part of that doomed majority. So, all Rhode Island could do was put some stopgap measures in place. When Skadi became Isharmla, humanity's fate was sealed. Collectively, all we could do was hole ourselves up in this prison and peek outside at a barely visible dawn." "So, how's the doctor doing?" As soon as the words leave his mouth, Mizuki instantly regrets asking such a stupid question. Even the doctor has no hope of defying time. He begins to silently pray, hoping that Kaltsit will not give him an answer. However, when Kaltsit opens her mouth again, the expression on her face remains unchanged. "The doctor is still alive." What? "We managed to move the sarcophagus here before we built the city. It preserves both the city's power supply and the life of the one who gave us hope." Mizuki suddenly feels the weight of the world slip from his shoulders. He slumps into the chair, his face full of joy. The doctor is indeed alive, but even if the sarcophagus can close all wounds, it cannot turn back the clock. As the doctor sleeps within it more and more frequently, the wick of life will eventually burn down to nothingness. But considering the doctor's condition is far from this dire state, Kaltsit continues to conceal the fact from Mizuki. It is also at this time that she feels the absurdity of reality. All of humanity's efforts to break its shackles and return to the Sea of Stars have been obliterated by history. On the contrary, it was an out-of-control planetary transformation plan that birthed new life after the extinction of humanity. She finds herself with nothing more to express beyond a sad sigh. So, Mizuki, what do you plan to do before the doctor wakes up? Nothing in particular. Maybe find some good eats, run a few errands here and there. I'm still a Rodan operator, right? I'll try to get your ID verification and dorm room prepared ASAP. Thanks. Appreciate it. Suddenly, as if she just thought of something, Katsude hurriedly calls Mizuki before he can leave the reception room and asks him to go sightseeing in the city. One last question. Did they really all leave? My disaggregation was completed before the ascension, so I'm not exactly sure how I went about it in the end. I see. Kaltsid's expression becomes serious. Years later, mankind's domain once again expands to the edge of the sea. The sea was once a source of calamity for humans, so the pioneers were told to fortify the coastal waters. However, curiosity will always trump fear. On a sunny afternoon, while the adult's attention wanders, a girl slips off to play on the beach. She carefully picks up jewel-like stones, wanting to sneak them back as a present for her little brother. But as she walks, she spies on the beach a flower deep in slumber. The Seaborn are nothing more than a distant bygone nightmare, so the girl has no impression of the creature in front of her. She steps forward and strokes the petals gently. Seemingly sensing something, the petals slowly open, revealing the blue jewel-like sensory organ beneath. It is a deep-sea slider hatchling. Seeing the girl, the newborn instinctively raises its appendages to attack. However, the girl offers it a piece of food. It confirms this gesture of friendliness. Its coiled appendages roll over the food and ferry it into its feeding organ. It is at this moment, from the bottom of the sea to the stars high above, that the many receive a completely new perspective. Humanity today is no longer a threat. We can coexist with humans. And there we go, ending for done. And I don't think I oversold it at the beginning when I said this is gonna be a completely different beast now, did I? To summarize... Oh, before we summarize it very quickly, one thing I would like to point out, right here, where I'm circling on the screen. Remember how the determination item looks? It is right there. But, to summarize very quickly what we just went over, considering how nutty this thing was. The journey essentially begins with the Doctor, at least my interpretation of it, the Doctor reacting to the word CAERULA, which leads to the experimental hub, where Mizuki agrees to go through this metamorphosis plan, where he will absorb the firstborn, the giant dead one, essentially, and become one himself to be able to control the Seaborn, essentially, by himself. And the experiment is a success, but it takes millennia. The numbers even on the screen are so busted that they don't even show any concrete estimate of time in the laboratory how long it will take. But a long time passes, and in the time it is passing, Mizuki, who is slowly absorbing the Seaborn, the firstborn, is essentially also birthing his own little Seaborn that are going around collecting data, genetic data, from any living organism on the planet, and are also, in that same process, goddamn terraforming the planet. He literally did a cleanup job for the entire world. The planet is now a Gaia world, essentially, if you ask me. For those of you who do not know what a Gaia world is, look the world up. Those are essentially perfect planets with abundance of resources, clean everything, and oh boy, humanity is in for a treat. Mizuki left the world in a pristine shape, Jesus. But yeah, centuries, millennia pass, the evolution completes as enough genetic data gets pretty much gathered into Mizuki, as he's also distributing that same data to the other Seaborn. They reach a singularity point, essentially a point where they have enough resources to evolve themselves from the planet-dwelling creatures that they were, where they require at least sea and land to live, to creatures that can now just swim through the endless boundaries of space without any problems. And they're gone. The majority of the Seaborn are gone now. The remnants of them, as we see, are, well, they're in for something else now as well. But to continue onwards, in that final moment, I don't even know how to unpack the whole thing of he himself giving himself a second chance on life. That is ridiculous. He essentially creates a normal human body. At least it sounds like he creates a completely normal human body. Then again, he's creating it from Seaborn cells. But then again, we also learned that it doesn't matter if Seaborn cell or not, you can just remain to be yourself if you manage to do that, of course. But regardless, the old Mizuki is essentially reborn in his old shape with memories and everything. And boy, that is a weird... God, I cannot even... Look, I'm trying to wrap my head as well around this whole thing, but he himself is telling himself bye-bye in that moment, which is... Where do we unpack that one? But yeah, Mizuki goes to look through the land. The Faranmoots are apparently still present. Nothing happened to them, of course. They're just living their life now. The planet, like I said, is completely terraformed to a pristine place with abundance of life, plant life, and food everywhere. And the humans that bunkered themselves down once again in that final city, as they do in pretty much all of the apocalyptical endings of this mode, find Mizuki and point him to the direction. I do love that after who knows how many 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years, Rhode Island is still around, and it was like a centerpiece to the whole city. That Calcet is obviously around. We do know she cannot die of age, essentially. And I think the biggest surprise, not really a surprise, but still a surprise, is that the doctor is still around. I do love that moment where Mizuki just casually, without even thinking, asks for the doctor's well-being and immediately regrets his choice because realizing, oh shit, I am asking after so many thousands of years if this being with sort of probably a normal lifespan is still around, and Calcet confirming it that the doctor is still alive. Boy, that relief, that is one of those little moments that I would love to see animated. Like just melting away in the chair with the most happiest smile, on the verge of tears on his face. That would be chef's kiss. But yeah, learning that the doctor is still alive, being kept alive essentially by the sarcophagus, just prolonging their life, is again insane, but that is what the sarcophagus does. Once again, I have been comparing this thing, the sarcophagus, or sarcophagi as we know at this point, to pretty much something very similar, pretty much the same thing, just not as powerful, from Stargate SG-1. For those of you who have maybe watched the series, you might know already what I mean, but for those of you who have not watched, in Stargate SG-1, the Goa'uld, the main enemy faction essentially for the longest time, is essentially using sarcophaguses that are keeping them alive and prolonging the life of their host bodies, the human bodies that they are inhabiting. And they can go on for a long time because the sarcophaguses keep just refreshing the cells. But there is a limit. The body will become old after some time and they will need to swap hosts. And, well, I'm not saying obviously that the Doctor has a, you know, alien in him. Who knows? Who knows? But the sarcophaguses in this game are pretty much doing the same thing. They can keep someone alive as long as they are in there. They're pretty much like stalling for time, but they will not completely turn around the clock. Just the sarcophagus here in Arknights is vastly more powerful. This thing carries so much energy that for who knows how long it was keeping alive that whole city. And yeah, that surprise of him being still alive is amazing. And I do love the final bit of the story. That final bit where it seemingly even more time passes and humanity has now expanded back into the wilds and is starting to build cities and infrastructure towards the sea again. And that little girl approaching that little hatchling of a seaborn who instinctively reacted with, "I must attack, it's a human," but then realized, huh, there is no animosity anymore from the human. They are gentle towards us now. So much shit had to happen just for humanity to completely lose this innate fear and animosity towards the Seaborn, that the Seaborn could realize, huh, these beings are not a threat anymore. We don't need to attack and devour them. We can coexist. We can be friends now. I think that is the most mind-breaking part of this. But we are not fully done yet, obviously, with this series. There is one more thing, one more memory mapping that will go up on the channel for Mizuki. That will be up in a day or two after this goes live. And it carries a bit of interesting data in it as well, as you'll see once we go over that one. But that will be for later. For now, all I can say is thank you for watching. This is obviously done with IS3 now, after the memory mapping will go up as well. IS4 is gonna come out probably 2 months after this video goes up, roughly, maybe a month and a half, if that's the best time frame I can give it, but we'll see when it happens. I will definitely be covering it on the channel, obviously, when it goes live, so stick around if you're not subscribed. And obviously I will be live streaming it again like I did for IS3, playing through all the modes and playing through it all, reading all of it, discovering all the little shits, considering that there is going to be a lot of Norwegian, Icelandic language in it. Oh boy, this will this one will be breaking my my sense of pronunciations of anything. This one will be fun to figure out how to say anything in it. But anyway, that will be for when IS4 is out. So stick around if you're new to the channel. There will be more live streams of this in the future, and of course these videos for the different endings and such. But yeah, like I said, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope it was interesting to go through this journey of these endings. And yeah, please consider leaving a like on the video. It will help me a lot. If you're new, like I said, consider subscribing. And if you want to support me even more directly, there are memberships on the channels. On the channel, pardon. However, as I always say, no video will be ever behind a membership. It is purely there just to support the channel and myself more directly. And for the already existing channel members, thank you very much. Much appreciated. And yeah, I hope you all have a fantastic day wherever you are. And I will see you in the next video. Until then, bye bye.